Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. Whoops, BetterHelp. There they are. BetterHelp. BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. So if you are anywhere in the world and you need to get to a therapist, go to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Fill out some questions and they'll place you with a licensed master's level or PhD level therapist. If you don't like them, you just go on and say, hey, didn't like them, didn't work out, wasn't crazy about them, and they'll place you with somebody else. They are very affordable. They do packages of, I think, 4, and I think it's around $65 or so per session, which is really a good price. So anyway, there it is. Thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, so let's see. Getting stuff that I need to tell you about. If you're interested in doing the meet and greet in Tampa, go to chrisgodinez.com. Tickets are still available. I do give goodies away, and you get me for 2 whole hours, and we can chat about what it is you need to chat about. So there is that. I love doing the meet and greets because I love meeting people, and I love hearing their stories and, you know, talking and all that sort of good stuff. So that's fun. Please do share, click, like, subscribe, all of that sort of fun stuff. Again, YouTube is doing funky dunky things. I'm not the only one that's having issues with not being seen. So I was listening to a guy that does a Costa Rica podcast, and he was like, yeah, they've changed their algorithm again, and I'm not getting the viewership that I used to. So I'm like, yeah, I think that's happening to a lot of people. So anyway, please share these videos with people that you do know need the help. So there that is. So let's dive into the questions that I did not get to on Sunday. Could you please suggest some literature dealing with a dying abusive parent / grieving the abusive parent? So really, there's tons. All you got to do is go onto Google and look up grieving an abusive parent. And there are tons and tons of books. There's tons and tons of articles as well. So some of the ones that I saw, there's one called My Bitter Angel on Mourning the Death of an Abusive Parent. No Place Like Home, Coping with the Decline and Death of Toxic Parents. There's tons. I mean, really, it's a complicated grief, really. Mourning an abusive mother, complicated grief. So really just go onto Google and pick the one that speaks to you. It's a complicated grief. So when an abuser dies, I went through this with my dad. It's a sense of relief, honest to God. It was both my mother and I were like, whew, you know, that he was gone. So there's that sense of, thank God they're gone. And then there's the sadness of, if only, you know, if only dad had gotten help, if only dad wasn't crazy, if only he'd gone to a therapist and was willing to work on himself, but he wasn't, you know, he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So you're dealing with a lot of the, if onlys, I wish, you know, you mourn the loss of what could have been, really, is what goes on. And it's totally normal, you know, it's like that inner child grieving the loss of what could have been. He could have been a great dad. He wasn't, you know, so it's like that duality of accepting what was, you know, but also recognizing that that inner child is missing what could have been easily, you know? So, yeah, so you got to be very gentle with yourself. And there's that duality of, I love them because they're a human being, and I hate what they did. I hate how he treated me. I hate how he treated my siblings. I hate how he treated himself. I hate how he treated my mom. You know, so there is that duality. So you're going to feel everything, like a plethora of emotions. You're going to be angry. You're going to be sad. You're going to be hurt. You're going to feel betrayed. You're going to feel, you know, it's like, it's the inner child. It's the inner child. So allow the inner child to grieve. My recommendation, get a book that speaks to you, because there's tons of them on complicated grief. Tons. So just Google grieving an abusive parent and boom, book. And then boom, all of these books will pop up. There's no one great one, you know, it's like they're all really good. They've all got, you know, a different perspective. So my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad, I chronicled, his abuse and him dying and the whole thing. And really, it's when an abusive parent dies, it's that duality of, I wish they could have been normal. I wish that he'd been nice to himself and everybody else. And the reality is he was a right bastard. I mean, there's no two ways about that. And I'm glad he's gone, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think a lot of grieving is so screwed up in this country anyway, because first of all, we feel like nobody should grieve, which is a load of crap. And second of all, it's like people don't want to allow other people to process complicated emotions. And this is complex. This is complicated. There's a love-hate thing going on. Even kids that are being abused still love their parent, And again, because the parent does the intermittent positive rewards. Sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not. My dad was the same way. Sometimes he could be very quote unquote loving, and then 2 seconds later he'd be hitting you. So, it's very confusing. So I would go online. I would just look up a book that speaks to you. I would look at the articles. There's tons of great articles on Psychology Today. There's tons of great articles on, lots of sites about grieving an abusive parent. So it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. Basically, just allow it. Just allow whatever you are feeling, and you're going to go through the whole spectrum. So it's not fun, but it is necessary, unfortunately. Let's see if I can find a particular title. I named a couple of them. Yeah, there's just go online. There's tons of them. There's a place called Trauma Warriors, 10 books to help you heal from a narcissistic mother. So, yeah, just allow. Write and burn. That's going to help you the most. Okay, how do you suggest to work on when you know we should be sympathetic instead of empathetic to a situation? I feel like coming from a toxic family taught me to be empathic at all times. All right, you got to work on boundaries. So you got to work on the codependency. So when people get trapped in being empathetic all the time, okay, that's a lack of boundaries. It's healthy people know when to back off and when to step forward and hold the space. So working on your boundaries, you're going to work on your self-esteem. So it's going to be the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. And then working on codependency, either Codependent No More, Beyond Codependent No More by Melanie Beattie, The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker. You're going to work on allowing yourself to say no in your head at the very least and out loud at the very most. You know what I'm saying? So boundaries, it's all about boundaries, and it's knowing when to step forward and hold the space and when you don't need to. It's not your job. So it's self-esteem, because people with good self-esteem have got good boundaries. That's what you have to remember. And it's okay to say no. So when you're doing the mirror work, you practice on allowing yourself to say no. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? I give you permission to have boundaries, and it's okay to say no when you need to, and then walk out. So getting rid of that guilt, because that's what pops up for most people is, oh my God, I feel so guilty. I didn't stop and help and da-da-da-da-da. Well, you don't in every situation. You don't have to. So allowing yourself to say no. So it's codependent when we are harming ourselves to help somebody else. It really hurts them. It hurts us. So we're harming ourselves to help somebody else, and you don't want to do that. So if it's going to harm you, you say no to it. You just do. Like, for example, it's like when somebody is just at their emotional capacity and another person comes in front of them and wants something from that person, the person who's at their capacity has the right to say, I can't. I'm sorry, or I'm not sorry. I just can't. I am saying no to this. So you're going to need to find help from someone else, or you're going to need to find whatever you need from somebody else. I'm at maximum limit. And it's okay to say that, and you don't need to feel guilty. Toxic families train the kids to be caregivers, to be the emotional bag holder, to... Where is that bubble coming from? I've seen that a couple of times, and I don't know why it's doing that. to be emotional caregivers, to, um, you know, that kind of thing. It's very odd. I don't like it. That we are responsible for everybody's emotions and that we are responsible for, um, taking care of everybody. We're not. We're not responsible. We're not responsible at all. So that is it. I hope that answers that question. You have a right to say no. You have a right to draw boundaries. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. I'm just exhausted. After 3 years, I found out that I am again in a relationship I need to get out of again. Why do I keep choosing these people? I at least listen to my gut better, but not soon enough. Okay. So when we are finding ourselves again and again and again attracted to abusive types, we are basically allowing our inner child to run the show. So you want to get the inner child workbook. So what ends up happening by either Catherine Taylor or Lucia Cappuccioni, I think it's called Regaining the Inner Child, by Cappuccioni, and the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor. So what's happening is our inner child looks outside of ourselves, outside, and goes, oh, here's somebody over here who kind of sort of reminds me of the person that I had the hardest time with growing up, caregiver. I know if I can make that person out there love me, I prove caregiver wrong. Mom and dad are wrong. Half of a doo-doo sandwich, half of a doo-doo sandwich. Total doo-doo sandwich. So our inner child keeps replaying the wounds over and over and over and over again. So it's really important to work on the inner child. Get the Inner Child Workbook, either Catherine Taylor or Lucia Cappuccioni. Get CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. You want to work on the original trauma. You want to work on the original wounds. You want to get yourself rock solid. And you want to work on what is drawing you to those types of people. So honestly, it's like if you look at all of the abusive people that you have dated, they all have very similar things in common. So who of your caregivers do they remind you of? That's what you want to start healing. That's what you want to start working. And when you work with the inner child, you basically do you basically can do a guided imagery. You can talk to your inner child. You can, hey, little one, what do you need? You need to be loved. Okay, well, you need to let me be the adult and do the picking, not you. We're not going to pick mom and dad anymore. We're not going to do that. That doesn't work. That's not going to ever heal it or fix it because it was, you did not break it. You cannot fix it. So that's kind of the thing to work on is the inner child and all of that stuff. So that's what I would recommend. Okay. Can someone be a dark triad sometimes and not sometimes? Okay, what you're talking about is intermittent positive rewards. So what a dark triad does, what a narcissist does, what an abuser does, is they do intermittent positive rewards. I love you, I love you, I love you, I hate you. Hate you, hate you, hate you, love you. Love, 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 hate. Hate, 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 love. So it's these intermittent positive rewards. And it literally trains us like a dog to want and wait for those times when they are normal. So it's on purpose. They are absolutely doing it on purpose. They're still a dark triad. They're still crazy. They're still abusive. They're still a narcissist. They're still whatever. But they are doing this intermittent positive rewards to get you hooked. It's a way to get you hooked. It's the way you train a dog. Think about it. You don't give a treat every single time. In order to teach a dog, sometimes every sixth time you give them a treat. Every third time you give them a treat. And eventually they will just sit with the hand gesture. So it's the same idea. They are literally training you. So if you are in a relationship with somebody who runs hot and cold, and it's very, the highs are high and the lows are low, danger, Will Robinson, danger, 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 danger. You are probably dealing with a dark triad or an abuser at the very least, a narcissist. It's no bueno. Healthy, normal people don't act like that. They don't do that. They are consistent in their behaviors. It's not going to be a high high. It's not going to be a low low. It's going to be in a normal range. Okay. So yeah, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about intermittent positive rewards, and that is who they are. That's what they do to manipulate. That's absolutely on purpose on their part. And it is to get us hooked. Absolutely. Okay. No empathy from sick partner. He's on the phone and texting while I'm having a seizure, and he says he thinks I faked illness basically to get out of arguing or to make the fighting stop. Meanwhile, actual stress response to his abuse. Okay, get out. I mean, I'm sorry. There's just, I'm sorry. That's abuse. Why are you putting up with it? Why are you still there? Leave. Save yourself. Get out. That's not okay. Period. Let's see, second half of that question. Why do they go behind your back and talk about you with others? Because gossip makes them feel powerful. Smear campaigns make them feel powerful. They devalue and discard and they triangulate and they do the smear campaign so that when you do leave, you look like the crazy one. Doesn't matter what other people think. If you're being abused, get the hell out. That's the best thing I can tell you is don't put up with that. If you're having seizures and this person is telling you you're faking it, why are you sticking around? That's a self-esteem issue. So get out, work on your self-esteem, work on stabilizing yourself, work on your boundaries, work on recognizing your worth. Self-esteem workbook, Glenn Schiraldi, I think it's chapter 7, is recognizing your worth and absolutely not putting up with anyone who is disrespectful. Don't do it. When respect is no longer served, leave the table. So there that is. All right, guys, this coming weekend, I will be talking about the roles we are forced to play in toxic, dysfunctional, enmeshed families. And since it is the holiday season, I figured that's the perfect time to do that particular topic. So we're going to talk about the roles we're forced to play. So that'll be on Sunday. All right, my loves, you guys go have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.